It's Mooman.
Mooman?
This is not a dream.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Mooman. It is Mooman on the mic.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, it is your man's Mooman's on the mic, back with another episode of the Initiative Podcast, where we get into everything: celebrity news, world news, sociology, psychology, and WTF. Let's get it. You know what? There's a saying, and they say that in decades are days lived, and in days, decades are lived. And I know I may have been butchering that quote, but it rings loud now, considering the state of war we are all in on this planet, considering the state of, uncertainty and adversity. You know what I mean? Like, first we had the situation going on in LA, which is still ongoing. Then we have Minneapolis with assassins popping up everybody they could possibly put a list on. Then he got freed, you know what I mean? And then, Krishan moved back into Blueface's house. This is getting out of hand. Alright? You know what I mean? I could have sworn he put her stuff out of the house, but I digress. Alright? And yes, it relates because it's tension, just like the world wars going on right now. World wars, specifically because there are multiple wars going on in the world. So I think it's safe to say world wars with an S. You know what I mean? And it's hard to really cover anything else besides what's pertinent and what's really going on. So shout out, and my headline heroes go once again to everyone who's listening to the podcast, everyone who's been keeping a level mind, a level head in the midst of the turmoil that everyone sees on the news. And I know you want to go about your day as if it may not get that bad. We understand that. It's gonna get that bad. So I'm already at peace with it. I suggest everyone else makes peace with it day by day. Just take it just one day at a time. You know what I mean? Revert back to your teachings from wherever you got them from. And let's take this step by step. Keep our peace. Stay kind to one another. Although speak your mind and stand on business, but be kind to one another while you're standing on business. You know what I mean? And if they need to learn the harsh truths and tough love, well, then give them that. Because in a minute here, we may not be expressing too much of anything in lower or higher dimensions, except for those who are on lower and higher dimensions. You know what I mean? Like, that's just where we're at. All right? I can't wait to get into this headline hunting in the back of the house headline so we can discuss, okay, so you guys can hear the flavor and the news and the current facts of what I got going on right here as Mooman on the mic. I'm going to deliver to you everything that I am researching with the very latest. Every news headline is breaking almost minute by minute nowadays. And I know y'all been feeling it. I know y'all been seeing it. I know other podcasts. Shout out to all the other podcasts who've been attempting to stay up to date with it, because everything is breaking every second. All right? But don't take my word for it. Let's get into the headline hunt. Okay, let's do it. Out of Rap House Records, in a strongly worded address on June 18, 2025, Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei issued a stern warning to the United States, stating that any American involvement in the ongoing conflict would be 100% to its own detriment. He emphasizes that the damage to the U.S. would far exceed any harm Iran might face. Khamenei's comments come amid escalating tensions between Iran and Israel, with Israel reporting conducting airstrikes on Iranian military and nuclear facilities. Airstrikes on nuclear facilities. Did y'all hear that? All right, all it takes is one to go off, and they just can't seem to get it through their heads that they will not be living through this if the cooler minds do not prevail. Khamenei dismissed the idea of surrender or de-escalation from Iran, declaring that the country would not back down in the face of external pressure. He accused the U.S. of trying to destabilize the region and asserted that Iran's resistance would remain firm, regardless of international military threats. His remarks were broadcast live across Iranian state media, signaling an official hardline stance. An official hardline stance, mind you, with nuclear weapons, mind you, with drones, mind you, with AI. I want to emphasize the importance of all of this. And these threats back and forth doesn't really do us much good, does it? All right, this warning marks a significant increase in rhetoric as fears grows that the conflict could broaden Both Iranian and Western analysts have expressed concern that any U.S. military engagement could ignite a wider regional war. Khamenei's messages appear aimed at deterring American involvement while rallying domestic support for Iran's defensive posture. Listen, are we all familiar with the term bunker buster? All right, because that's what Donald Trump is focusing on launching on their nuclear underground power facilities. And mind you, that explodes every nuclear bomb all at once. So what do we have here? One nuclear bomb? Two nuclear bombs? All nuclear bombs. No one survives. That's the very point. Headline: Hutton Empress. Adam Empress, as tension between Israel and Iran escalate, bipartisan lawmakers are pushing to prevent President Trump from unilaterally launching U.S. military action in the region. Everyone's on edge. The G7 didn't really get much resolved, did it? All right, on Tuesday, Representatives Thomas Macy and Khanna from California, Democrat, introduced a war powers resolution requiring congressional approval for any armed conflict with Iran. This is not our war, but if it were, Congress must decide matters according to the Constitution. Macy posted on X. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar signaled support along with 12 other Democrats. Senator Tim Kaine introduced a companion bill in the Senate stating, "This resolution will ensure that if we decide to place our nation's men and women in uniforms into harm's way, we will have a debate and vote it in Congress." Okay, these privileged resolutions required prompt debate and vote, though passage is unlikely in a Republican-controlled Congress. All right, they're trying to pass so that he doesn't make all of the decisions, or a little less than the decisions, and it's understandable. We're all on edge. But then, do we leave our higher intellectual choices to globalists? Do we follow the Federal, Reserve and its information? Do we follow the money or do we follow the gold? Do we follow the gold or do we follow the silver? Because as we know, the stock market reflects the hesitations, the serious and not so serious choices that are going on with the productions and commodities all over the world if they are put in harm's way. These privileges Senator Bernie Sanders also introduced legislation Monday to block any military funding for action against Iran without congressional approval. Another war in the Middle East could cost countless lives, waste trillions, and lead to even more deaths. But this isn't Trump's war, is it? This is Trump responding to what already has been put into place through Biden, through Obama, and before, as we know. And people want to deny these truths. You want to deny the legacy of war, but you don't want to deny that its benefits if we come out on top. And that's a big if. And mind you, there is really no top. There's a bottom, though, and the bottom is widening. You understand what I'm saying? The bottom is getting bigger, step by step, day by day, second by second, minute by minute at this point. And everyone can go around with their lives if they want to. All I'm saying is let's get down to business with these facts. All right, Iran's leaders to evacuate declared, Iran's leaders, under the Constitution, only Congress has authority to declare war. The president can act in self-defense but requires approval for sustained military action. The 1973 War Powers Resolution further limits presidential war powers unless Americans are in immediate danger. I think we are in immediate danger, to be honest with you. We got sleeper cells that we got to worry about. We got white supremacists that are losing their rockers, you know what I'm saying? And we have La Raza, who is sitting up here trying to tell you that it's purity by blood. Listen, us as original people, and I am speaking to the black population and the black diaspora who is listening to this podcast, I'm proud of you because we stayed out of the initial phase one of the social economic war that is upon us. All we have to do is take over the rest of the industries that people are not willing to work because of hardships, deportations, lack of money, or a lack of hustle mindset. Okay? We have the mindset. We've come out on top millions of years with much worse wars going on, by the way, during slavery. So let's be clear. We've been through worse already. So there's not anything through the rhetoric that we haven't heard before. Not to mention on the ground, boots on the ground, feet on the ground, legs on the ground, hands on the ground, body parts on the ground. And that's what we've accomplished and fought through civil rights movement for hundreds of years just in America, let alone worldwide. And we are still here as the Black diaspora. Now, I want everyone to keep that in mind. You see what I'm saying? As we move forward into 2026, as we move forward into uncertainty in the next 24 to 36 hours, I want everyone to understand who's going to really come out off all of this thousands of years from now, 10 years from now. I mean, it kind of really depends. It's all fluid, right? It's all fluid. We don't know what's really going to happen. The only thing that you can do is depend and plan on your own plan to make sure that your plans go straight, okay? You hear how confusing that sounds? And I'm on the podcast with the same uncertainties, all right? Y'all are not alone in this. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Let's do it. Back of the house headlines. We in the back of the house headlines as Zelensky leaves G7 with no Trump meeting on fresh arms support from the U.S. And this is an article by David Lundgren, Josh Irish, and Andreas Rinke. All right, let's understand. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky left the Group of 7 summit on Tuesday with new aid from host Canada for its war against Russia, but said diplomacy is in crisis, having misread the chance to press U.S. Donald Trump for more weapons. Okay, the G7 wealthy nations struggled to find unity over the conflict in Ukraine after Trump expressed support for Russia President Vladimir Putin and left a day early to address the Israel-Iran conflict from Washington. A Canadian official initially said Ottawa has dropped plans for the G7 to issue a strong statement on the war in Ukraine after resistance from the United States. Emily Williams, Director of Media Relations for Prime Minister Mark Carney, later said no proposed statement on Ukraine has ever been planned. Carney has started the day by announcing Ottawa would provide $2 billion, that's $1.47 billion in American dollars, ladies and gentlemen, and new military assistance for Kiev, as well as impose new financial sanctions. All right, I mean, again, there is multi-layered chess going on. You know what I mean? Follow the commodities. I urge everyone to follow the money, and then I urge everyone to follow the corruption, because you can hear it in the voice of every deal that's being made almost. And I say almost with a very thin veil. All right, this is ridiculous. Kremlin says G7 looks rather useless. Trump said on Monday he needed to be back in Washington as soon as possible due to the situation. And yes, I know we're in Wednesday. What I'm saying is that these headlines are coming out so fast, I need to recap this to then say that. You know what I mean? Because right now, that bunker buster is being activated. Right now, Iranian President Ayatollah Khamenei said that tonight, their night, which is approaching over there, there's going to be something that's going to be amazing, and it's not going to be able to be fixed for centuries. I mean, listen to the rhetoric we're using against each other. Okay? I mean, for all of you way out there, people, I know you're hearing this podcast, and you're like, well, damn, you know what I'm saying? Where's the Galactic Federation? You know what I mean? I mean, that's just for those who choose to, give that power of thinking to. My thing is, we are in definitely the end times. You see what I'm saying? The end of a world age into another, and these are the growing pains. A White House official on Tuesday said that Trump explained that he returned to the U.S. because it's better to hold high-level National Security Council meetings in person rather than over the phone. But of course, because AI hacks everything. The Kremlin said on Tuesday that Trump was right and said that G7 was no longer sufficient for Russia and looked rather useless. That's crazy, mind you, hence the war. Okay? And these are just headlines. I urge y'all to definitely go check it out. Definitely go keep researching, keep coming to the podcast, keep connecting the dots with my research, your research, and their research, so you can stay ahead of the game no matter where you're at in this country. But as I've always said, thank you once again for listening to the podcast. It is your man's Moon Man on the mic. And before I end the podcast, I got some things to look forward for y'all to look out for. New spoken word and the more. Merch is on the way. More merch. Moon Man on the mic. Let's get it.